starts when you begin to turn the key, unlocking all the mystery of sea and sky and where they meet. Bright light is so bittersweet. Listen to your soul, mystery of soul. Mysterious, oh so mysterious, oh so mysterious.
You know that record. Oh man, that sounds so good.
Whispering your deepest, darkest thoughts to me will set you free, and you won't have to hide behind that lovely mask that's so refined. Tangled shadows resting in your heart will awaken with the stars when you begin to turn the key, unlocking all the mystery of sea and sky and where they meet. Why life is so bittersweet. Listen to your soul, mystery of soul.
That's so cool. So cool. Ladies and gentlemen, I have my guests, Terri Roiger and John Menegon. Hey, I said it well. I'm just fixing my post. I want to put that, make sure sometimes it doesn't work, but I want to get it in the top of the post who I'm interviewing here. And anyway, I'll keep looking at that, but I think it's there. Let me see. Let me make sure, you guys.
Right?
Well, oh my goodness, there's always a little bit of the technological thing. See, I can't even say the word. That's why it's. So how you guys doing? Terri and John.
Really good. Really good. Been very busy these past few days.
Yeah, don't you have something coming up?
Well, we did, but I think we're going to postpone it until later in the month.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
we were going to do a live stream thing from Shapeshifter in Brooklyn, and
Uh-huh.
on Abby Lincoln and Charlie Hayden's birthday.
Oh,
There have been some complications with personnel, so we're going to postpone it until later in the month. I
uh-huh.
think calm down a little bit. There's so much going on with COVID and with the hurricane coming and, all sorts of things like that. So
Yeah.
we
I
want
heard,
to do something later. Yeah.
I spoke to somebody in Florida this morning and they said that it passed Florida.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, it did.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
So, but, we do have some things coming up this month, actually. And we can talk about them now or later.
Yeah. Well, let's first get into um, just the chat. I was listening and it's so good. It sounds so good and it just satisfies my soul so much to hear your music. And I was I was just kind of in the back of my mind, I was thinking, if I had moved to New York instead of staying in LA, I would have been in your crowd with Andrea and Phil and Jay Clayton and Sheila and yeah, that's where I would have been. But that was 40 years ago, and, and here I am.
I know we've known each other for so long, and we keep seeing each other at these jazz events, and we talk to each other over the internet, and I get your emails, and it's such an inspiration how you keep on, promoting things and doing things yourself. You've been a real inspiration to me.
Oh, thank you. Well, you too. And I mean, I can't remember what the name of it is now. Your session that you've created for the last few years, is it in
Oh,
Woodstock
yes.
or Jazz Stock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us about Jazz Stock for a second, you know?
Well, that goes back about 5 years, but prior to that, going back even to the mid 90s, we started something called Jazz in the Mountains, which was based out of Woodstock, New York.
Uh-huh.
We were producing concerts back 96, 97, 98. We had, we were curating shows for arts organizations in Woodstock. We were putting on our own concerts, and we were just bringing the music to the community in any way we could. So that was our first step into the promotional part of it.
In 2011, we came up with the name Jazz Stock and started producing in Woodstock. And now we have this fabulous venue in Kingston at the Senate Garage, which is an old car garage. So it's a huge space. And someone donated a 9-foot grand piano, and we got a sound system together. So once a month we produce concerts up until the pandemic happened. And we hope to resume again. We're thinking of maybe starting to do some live streaming from there.
Cool.
Such a large space. We could do something there with social distancing.
Yeah. That's really a blessing, to have that space, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it
It's.
is.
We were thinking of opening up in this month, actually, again to invite patrons back to the space, but we've kind of backed away from that because things are just a little too up in the air.
Yeah.
For social gathering, and the last event we did was March 7th with the Joe Lovano Quartet.
Yeah.
And that was a great success. And everyone prior to that has been extremely successful. So, we're kind of eager to get back to it, but like most venues, we're finding ways to, bring the people together, or at least bring the music to the people. So we're looking into doing some live streaming in the fall. See how that goes.
We're also trying not to plan too much and put too much pressure on the community to come out yet, because people aren't ready,
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know what's happening, who knows what's happening, but I think I'd like to see what happens in the next month with all this kind of new push for the I can never say it, hydrochlor something.
I think it's okay that you can't say it because I don't think it's
It
a
doesn't work
good, I don't
anyway.
think it's a good thing. I
Well,
don't think,
there's a lot of new videos coming out about it, and I feel like it's either gonna be okayed or not okayed, probably in the next month. I'm guessing. I don't know. But that might settle things one way or another. Who knows?
yeah, it's really hard to say. Are you still teaching, Kathy?
I am. I'm teaching online, and I have about four students who really want to come over. So we're teaching in the backyard in the outdoor patio area. So unless it's really hot, it's fine. But sometimes it's really hot, and it's like, yeah, I don't think today is going to work.
I'm still at SUNY New Paltz, and we're going pretty much online this fall. We didn't work on film for a
You're
couple.
planning on online.
Yeah, it's kind of quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, there's so many people online. John, do you teach too?
I was up until a couple of years ago, and then I decided to devote my
I'm sorry,
energy.
to what?
I was up until a couple of years ago, but now I'm just focused on performing, producing, composing, decomposing, you name it.
Building saunas.
I'm doing more painting these days. I'm doing all kinds of things. Keeping
I,
very busy.
I just have to say, I spoke to Alexis Cole yesterday, and she's staying out in a cabin a little out of town, and she had never done it before. She plumbed her washer, and she plumbed an outdoor shower.
Hey, can you give me your phone number?
It's she's the cutest thing, man. Wow, she's a real energizer person.
Yeah, she's a good friend of ours. She
Yeah.
actually recorded at our studio.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's really interesting. When you talk to her, she appears like a really young person, like in her 20s. And then you hear her sing, and it's like, wow, this is like a so mature jazz singer. It's really interesting.
Yeah, she's very energetic, very ambitious,
Yeah,
and very talented. Yeah.
yeah,
Worked with her several times over the years.
yeah.
Great talent.
We actually had an outdoor shower for a summer,
Oh,
which was kind of cool, but I was kind of worried about bears and snakes and that sort of thing.
I don't know
So
why.
I didn't really enjoy it that much.
Where do you guys live?
Well, we do have a place in New York, in the West Village. It's a new apartment, as of just this past week,
Like
actually.
today. So
Oh yeah, yeah. You just
Yeah,
like suddenly moved, right?
we
yeah,
moved from upstairs to a
Oh,
smaller place with a riverfront view. It's lovely.
yeah. It's
We're
really
very
nice.
happy.
And then we have a house upstate where we have a recording studio with a grand piano and several different rooms for isolation. We've been doing that for well 15, 16
oh,
years now. So it's
yeah.
been we've done a lot of projects together and with other people as well. So it's really a great place to kind of just work, get away from the city,
Yeah.
which has been very helpful these days, considering what's going on. So, but here we are. We're in New York today.
Yeah, we just got here and we're here for a whole week. And yeah, we're back and forth. But we both lived in New York in the 80s, but didn't know each other
Oh,
yet, early 80s. And then we met up in Woodstock after we had both moved up there.
oh,
And so 3 years ago, we finally got into this great place in New York. Do you know West Bed?
No.
It's like it's an artist subsidized building
Oh,
right on the West Side Highway in the West Village, and very cool. All artists live here, so it's a great environment.
Yeah, it's great. You can walk to Mesro when it was open, Smalls, the Village Vanguard,
oh,
55 Bar, the Blue Note. It's just walking distance. It's a great place to be. Certainly up until, 7 months ago, it was kind of the jazz mecca for us.
Yeah.
And well, as you know, everybody's struggling in terms of, keeping their venues open, trying to make things happen, musically. So we're all kind of working on it in one sense to keep the music alive, which is so important, as much as for the audience as for us as well. So we're an experiment, it seems like.
It's kind of hard to plan, gigs right now because as you know. So we're trying to get the live stream thing together as much as possible in the meantime. So it's so great what you're doing here because, people are getting to know each other in a very different way. It's very cool.
it is really great. I'm really enjoying it. I actually, it feels very intimate to me. It's like my own spiritual path or something. And yet I'm sharing with everybody, and it's just it's a really great. Yeah, it's just I feel really good about it, I I was thinking about all the conversations I've had because tomorrow I had Clayton Cameron scheduled, but he suddenly told me that he forgot to hit send. I can't do that date. So anyway, so I was thinking, well, I asked a few people, and it just feels funny asking somebody like, "Hey, you want to do it tomorrow?" So I thought, well, maybe I'll go on. I'll plan kind of a different show of listening to different people, and people can suggest who to listen to. And I was thinking of all the conversations I've had, and there's been because I was thinking, well, what could I bring into the conversation, into the tomorrow's conversation about other conversations? But I mean, it's endless what the great things, all the artists have said, and so some things so surprising and different perspectives on looking at the same thing. And I really feel so overwhelmingly close to all the artists, and you too, even though we haven't talked for a long time, like in such a way, but I still feel really close. I feel very connected,
So
Very,
do you remember, that's beautiful. I mean, it really shows in your interviews too, how you
thanks.
are connecting with everybody. And something you said just reminded me of that time we were stuck in the LA airport and we were trying to come and see you because I think we were there for like 10 hours.
10-hour layover.
On our way to Melbourne, Australia. Remember that? We were,
Yeah.
Several years ago.
yeah, it didn't happen. I mean, we didn't see you, but
I remember, I think it's still in my messages actually, because as I was looking to message you, I saw I saw something. Oh my God. Um,
In New Orleans this past year. Did we see her in New Orleans?
no.
No, she wasn't.
We
No.
saw you at Jazz Congress.
Jazz Congress.
yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we saw each other, I think, both years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, just hi.
together. And then,
That's such a fun hang. I mean, it's great. I just want to tell you a few people who are saying hi. Dina DeRose
Oh, hi,
hi,
Dina.
Dina,
and Tanya Grubbs. She loves you.
Tanya. I saw a little bit of you, Tanya, on some live stream thing. It was lovely.
Yeah.
living rooms, maybe.
Yeah. And Andrea's on. Yeah. Um, so, okay. So you guys, oh, and Judy Silvano just got on. Hi, Judy. So,
Hey,
do you guys live near each other up north? I mean, upstate?
An hour.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get together. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, boy, I mean, you guys have such rich individual careers and together. I guess I'm just going to have to start with one of you, okay? So, ladies first.
Oh, okay.
So tell me. So actually, let's. I'd like to hear just kind of an overview of how you came up, where you came up, how you came up, and obviously you've been singing a super long time and have quite a dramatic connection, you know, a musical heritage and smartness. So I'd like to hear how that came about.
Well, thank you. Okay, he's going to take a break.
Okay, no problem.
So I grew up in a very rural, small town in Minnesota,
Oh,
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
And yeah, I started studying piano when I was 5. And when I was 13, the church organist passed away, and I was the only one in town who could play. So I started playing the church organ. I could barely reach the pedals. It was like one of those organs. I'm really aging myself now. So at 13, I became the organist. I made $25 the first year. So the musical path was set, you know. But I started getting hired for weddings and funerals and all that sort of thing. And I actually started making some money.
Yeah.
And then I went, I didn't really hear jazz. I mean, I heard a few things, like I heard like Ramsey Lewis, and I heard, you know, there are a few things that reached my small Midwestern town. And my parents were not really jazz fans. My dad played polkas on the accordion, and my younger brother was a drummer. He is a drummer. He played in punk rock bands in Minnesota. And my older brother plays piano and sings, and he plays more like country, pop, rock music. So there was always music in the house. And I went away to college, and I actually started studying the organ, but I don't know. I heard jazz, and once I heard jazz, I started just really falling in love with it. When I used to see a musical, I used to buy the songbook, and I would go home and play piano and sing all the songs. And I actually went to see the movie Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross playing Billie Holiday, which I didn't think was a great movie, but I loved the music so much. And I bought the songbook, and I just fell in love with these songs. And I decided I wanted to play jazz piano. So I started studying with this well-known stride piano player named Butch Thompson, who was the house pianist on the Garrison Keillor radio show for many years. And I was, you know, really, really working on it. And then he heard me sing one day, and he said, "Wow, I'll play for you. You know, you can sing." So I started. He was like kind of a New Orleans guy. He played clarinet and piano. He played Jelly Roll Morton music, and so he and this band called the Hall Brothers started giving me all these albums, Billie Holiday albums, and I just
How old were you?
I was like in my 20s, my early 20s.
Okay.
But I heard something in her music that the emotions that she brought out in me were something that I just hadn't known how to express before. And I just, I don't know, I just started singing the songs and loving it so much. And I've always played piano, but I really became a jazz singer at that time. And so I started working a lot in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then I started pursuing my piano studies again with Bobby Peterson, who was from
One
the
of the
famous Peterson.
Petersons. Yeah, yeah, one of the famous Peterson family.
And I still have all my notes from
Oh,
him. And he
really?
really started teaching me modern jazz piano.
Oh, wow.
And so I still use those changes and those voicings and stuff. So let's see. Then I was, gigging around Minneapolis, St. Paul quite a bit. And I had a lot of friends who were moving out to New York City. And I was with the bass player at the time who moved to New York. And my best girlfriend moved to New York. And about a year later, after they moved, I came out and joined them in New York and lived in New York City for a few years. And that's where I met people like Jay Clayton, Sheila Jordan. I had a lesson with Lee Konitz, Jeannie Lee. I had a lesson with Joan Burkeen. I was always kind of keeping my foot in the door, but I wasn't really going for it. I had a day job. And eventually I moved up to Woodstock. And then I met wonderful musicians, Kenny Burrell and Jack DeJohnette. They became my really good friends, and Jack's wife, Lydia, of course. And I met John shortly after that. He was up in Woodstock at the time, and we met and started practicing a lot together, rehearsing a lot. And eventually we ended up, being together, and we recorded our first album that you were just playing from
Mysterioso.
Mysterioso.
Really, that was the first record. That was
That was
such
a-
beautiful.
Yeah, I wrote lyrics to that tune, Mysterioso. It took me almost a year to get permission to put the album out. Don Sickler was reluctant to let me put it out. And finally I called Thelonious Monk's son and I asked him if I could please release this. And he goes, yeah, baby. So he's like, okay, I know what to do now. So, and, since then, especially lately, I'm really back on the piano a lot.
Hmm.
Um, my first love, really, and so I've been playing a lot. I plan to do some trio gigs starting later this month or in September.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's so great.
Really encouraging me, and we have written some tunes together. And what else? Did I miss? I must have missed something. I don't know.
Well,
We're always collaborating
Yeah.
on our musical path. We're always coming up with ideas, and we egg each other on. And
It was kind of after I met, sorry, but I just want to finish one thing.
sure.
It was after I met John that I really started working a lot as a singer. And, we just started working as a duo and a lot as a duo at first, and then trios and quartets. And yeah, since then we've just been collaborating, and it's been how many years?
25?
At least, yeah, 25 years.
At least 25.
Cheers.
cheers. Okay, well, okay. That's a good beginning here for this conversation. Thank you. And John, how about you? Where are you from?
I grew up in Montreal, Canada.
Yeah.
So, Montreal has a great history, musical history, with jazz, with having some iconic figures come out of Montreal, Oscar Peterson, Maynard Ferguson. There are quite a few actually that were always, kind of shining a light on Montreal as this kind of natural place where music could be created, and kind of drawing from the tradition of jazz, especially American, I guess, music. So that was something that was very much in my life when I grew up. My father was not a musician, although we did sing in choirs together. And
Your dad and you?
yeah, we sang in choirs, church choirs together. I was always singing in choirs
Uh-huh.
since I was, in grade 6 and 7. So, and right up until my mid-20s, I was in some professional choirs as well.
Mm-hmm.
But my father was very much into the big band era, and we had a good, foundation, or at least I grew up with a good foundation of swing music, and that really inspired me to be a musician. I loved the feeling that I got when I listened to it. I loved how it communicated to other people. And I found that Montreal had a rich history that I could draw from. And we had some great people. Len Dobbins was a great radio announcer and jazz enthusiast in Montreal. He's passed away several years ago, but he was very instrumental in bringing the music to to the Montreal audience through his radio shows. He was always on the scene, and he brought a lot of people from New York and from the States to Montreal as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this kind of gateway to this incredible music that was afforded to me. And at a young age, like when I was in grade school, my father brought home a guitar, and the guitar I immediately was attracted to it. And I started playing guitar. It was my first instrument. And I still play guitar today. Terri and I have done some gigs in duo, but eventually I switched over to the acoustic bass. And that was when I was in my early 20s. I was very much drawn to the instrument. It resonated with me.
Yeah.
I actually changed my major from guitar to bass in the middle of going to university, my first year. My teachers were like, "What? What are you doing?" But I was just really, comfortable on the bass. And from there, I went through several years of university in Montreal at Williams College.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I went right into working as a professional musician. And in Montreal, there were a lot of jazz clubs.
Oh.
And I was fortunate to land a steady gig, which I worked 7 nights a week for about 2 years.
Oh my God.
Quintet. We played every, type of music that we could get our hands on. Sometimes we'd do a whole month of just Wayne Shorter music. And then eventually we had musicians coming in from New York. And I was just always drawn to New York, even as a young kid. New York was always just this, place just a little south of us. So that was something that really got me interested, just in terms of the vibrancy. And, New York was kind of the capital of the world when it comes to jazz. So it wasn't that hard for me to pick up and leave. And I ended up getting a scholarship to attend Long Island University. This is when I was 31 years old.
Oh.
I decided, hey, I'm going to leave Montreal. I worked so much, worked with a lot of different people. And anybody I met from New York always encouraged me. They said, hey, come to New York, experience what it's like. So that's exactly what I did. And when I got here, it was in, 86. I started going to school, immediately started working with the great Pete Yellen, alto saxophone player. And he was running the Jazz Plus program. And you know, from there, it's just, you know, once you're in New York, you're rubbing shoulders with so many great musicians.
Yeah.
And it was just so inspiring. Plus, you can go out to any, you know, one of the great clubs and hear some of the most amazing music. So in every step I took, it was getting me closer to experiencing kind of the ultimate platform for improvisation.
Yeah.
Loved improvisation. So yes, I mean there were other things that happened along the way. I was also offered a painting scholarship
Oh,
when I was in Long Island University, which I turned down because I was going to go on the road. So I've
Huh.
always had these venues, you know, of opportunity that have been amazing to me.
yeah. Wait, now, sorry.
Go ahead.
So were you a painter?
I've always painted to some degree. When I
Yeah.
was living in Montreal, I was painting. My father was a more or less an avid painter. He didn't make his livelihood as a painter, but he was always producing artwork. And he encouraged me from a young age. I was always drawing. I was always, you know, excited about creating a piece of art that I could look at. Uh, and that, to this day, I still am very much attracted to the visual arts. And I find that they're also very kind of intertwined, you know.
Absolutely. You know who I spoke with last week or so? Do you know Vinnie Golia?
I don't.
Oh, you guys really need to connect because he's
Vinny Golia.
Vinnie Golia. He's a multi-woodwind player, but he's right out of the same cloth, and he was a painter. And he started painting to jazz. Like, you know, he would go out and he would be painting to jazz, and then he started basically bringing it over to the playing. And yeah, and you guys, yeah, you really need to meet. I'm gonna introduce you. I'm gonna write myself a note. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
John just did a beautiful, a beautiful painting this week.
Really?
I wonder if we can show the painting.
Can you?
Can you show?
I'd have to bring it back and show it right in front of me.
Right. Can we just hold it here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should. It's really.
You won't be able to
He
see
did-
my whole paper.
He does a lot of very large works of art. And this one's about a medium-sized one, but here it comes. And,
Wow. Oh, God, that's gorgeous. Wow, that's beautiful, John.
So yeah, we have
Wow.
I'm always doing stuff.
that's for our new space here.
That's really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, so anyways, the music, the visual aspect of painting, color has vibration, and color generates a certain frequency and it has sound that I associate with it. I'm sure a lot of
Hmm.
So, you know, and there are many musicians that I know of who are wonderful artists. Who's the bass player who, his name just
Oh.
escapes me, just did a gig at the Vanguard.
No.
No. Anyways, so there are plenty, I'll remember his name, but there are plenty of musicians who paint. I think it's so close to the form of improvisation, of interacting with form, color, which is what we do when we create music. You know, we're dealing with forms, shapes, sounds, colors, and apart from that, you know, it's very liberating, you know, freeing.
Yeah, of course, Judy Silvano and Kathy
Exactly.
Cousins.
Yes.
Yeah.
So wonderful to see how she's grown as a painter, my goodness.
I know, it's really beautiful.
So we have some of her work hanging
Yeah.
in
Ah,
our house. We have some here actually.
oh, nice.
So yeah, she's been really inspiring as well. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
we know. I find that anybody who can share some of their kind of creative work with amongst us, it's empowering. Really helps us to know who we are and why we're here.
I
you
feel
know.
like if someone allows themselves to express themselves, that it's encouraging for other people to do the same thing.
yeah, me too.
Um, Apart from all that, my biggest, I guess, one of my most exciting uh, things that happened to me when I came to New York was eventually meeting and playing with the great late Dewey Redman.
Ah,
And I worked with him for almost 10 years, and we toured all over the world. And another great Texas tenor was David Fathead Newman,
yeah.
who I worked with as well, who lived up in Woodstock. He passed away
Oh,
in 2009. So Dewey passed in 2006 and David in 2009. But I had a great stretch playing with these incredible musicians, and they passed on so much information and experience that is, that'll last me for however long I'm here. So, and I'd like to share that with people as well, when it comes to writing or just performing,
yeah,
these are valuable kind of uh, opportunities for
yeah,
musicians to
yeah.
work with the elders. And,
Yeah.
you know,
It's intriguing to me too how, um, and hearing your stories, how, and of course, I don't mean to separate the genres of music particularly because music is music and it's all part of one big thing. But it's interesting to note that you come from the background of a genre, certain genre, and then you morph into what you do, which is very embracive for you guys. You know, I call it modern jazz. I know that's not a genre, but that's my name for it. But of course, we do everything and we bring everything in. But it's, I don't know. What do you guys have to say about that? Do you have an outlook on genre or yourselves in a genre or what you like and where you want to go with it?
Well, when I first started playing and singing jazz, it was real New Orleans traditional trad jazz, I guess.
Yeah,
And then I fell in love with Thelonious Monk almost right away, and Charlie Parker and Coltrane. And so it all appealed to me. It all meant, freedom of expression and freedom of music making and, being trained in classical piano. I still loved that. I just loved how it made me feel, and creating it with other musicians was a real pleasure. And I like all types of music, but I'm especially drawn to jazz, of course, but also Latin music. I love Latin music, and I love free improv music. I got to hear so much music from Dewey when John was playing with him, and that was really very empowering. And we've both been teaching jazz history for many years, and just exploring. Every year that I teach it, I'm learning more and more, and introducing my students to this music. It's sometimes challenging to get them into it. You have a class of 60 people, and it's interesting to see what they like and what they relate to and why. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
yeah, you are. You are. You're definitely answering it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing. Teaching, um, and just saying the word teaching is like, well, it's kind of introducing and involving more than teaching, but getting people to be interested.
Right.
That's a really challenging thing.
Yeah, it
Definitely.
takes a lot of doing. It takes some doing.
It takes some
Yeah.
doing.
In terms of the genres of music, I mean, you know, we're all kind of shaped by our history and what we are exposed to. And some people have a lot more in-depth kind of upbringing in the music as others do. But um, you know, that's certainly a of one's, you know, destiny and as a musician. If you have a lot of history with different styles of music or a particular style of music, it kind of gives you a heads up and an understanding, no matter what kind of music it is. So, for instance, in my experience, Montreal was wide open musically. We had traditional French music. We had free music. We had Latin music. We had a lot of Haitians, a lot of Haitian music. A lot of Cubans were there. So you could experience the music on so many levels. And as I was growing up as a teenager and into my mid-teens, I got to experience, sometimes played a lot of those genres, being a bassist. And it was always an experience, and it stays with you. You know, it shapes your understanding. And in terms of your question about, you know, just where music lies in terms of genres, I mean, it's always changing. It's always morphing into something else. And how we all relate to it is important uh, through our past experience and how we can kind of take that music and shape it and give it meaning for ourselves and for our listeners. So, you know, it's, and in terms of teaching, you know, when you teach, you kind of learn yourself. So we're always learning. You know, we might be teaching, we might be, but it's always about learning and keeping your mind open for new ideas. It's just like when you play in an ensemble, you listen and you have to be open to what's happening in the moment and have patience and have um, respect. All these things are part of the language that we learn as we go through life. And the music is here to teach us that, I think. So there you
Currently, we're
Beautiful.
currently
Thanks.
we're working on a project with this great pianist Pete Levin
Yeah.
and great percussionist, singer, guitarist Nani Assis, and
Brazilian.
Brazilian.
Hmm.
And I think and we did one recording, one tune before the pandemic. We were planning to do a whole album in March, but I might have sent it to you. It's called Island of the Sun.
Oh,
So we're doing some music. We're all bringing stuff in, like Pete is bringing in a King Crimson tune and some tunes that he played with the Gil Evans Big Band, because he played with Gil Evans Big Band for many years.
yeah.
And Nani, of course, brings his great rhythms. Like he's such a great percussionist
And
singer,
vocalist and guitar
vocalist,
player
yeah.
as well.
Uh-huh.
So we'll be doing a lot of Latin tinged kind of music, which goes way back to, you know, Jelly Roll Morton again with his Latin tinged music. So we'll be doing a lot of modern, you know, a bit of modern, at least modern arrangements
And originals.
and originals as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can hear it. Would you like me to play that one? The Island of the Sun? Yeah. And I actually did hear this one.
Yeah, this is a John's composition.
Oh, okay. Hold on one second. Let me just make it the computer sound. Share computer sound. That's always better. Okay. And now, doo doo doo.
You got it.
There we go. And there, and there, and here we go.
There's a place not far from here. It changes every other year. The climate is so hot and dry. The view so great, you want to cry. The breeze so soft. You wonder if it's real. The clouds, they float like fishing boats. The sun so strong, you think it's wrong. The mighty river never stops. The ocean acts as if a prop. The birds that fly will make you feel so high. Paradise is lonely without you being there. Longing for your presence, a moment could you spare? There's nothing wrong with fantasy as long as you're aware. Island of the sun, beware, we will soon be living there. Island of the sun, beware, we will soon be living there. Ba-da-da, ba-da-dee-ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-dee-ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-dee-ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-dee-ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. Of the sun, beware, we will soon be living there. Island of the sun, beware, we will soon be living there. The night reveals a secret, the twilight of your soul. The earth is deep within us, the magic that is told. Bolts of lightning flashing through the air of time. A shooting star will streak the sky, a moment lost without the eye. A calling from the moon above, answers to the ancient love. True reflection, take us to this land. Paradise is lonely without you being there. Longing for your presence, a moment could you spare? There's nothing wrong with fantasy as long as you're aware. Island of the sun, beware, we will soon be living there. Island of the sun, beware, we will soon be living there.
Nice. That's really nice. And you wrote the lyrics too.
Yes, yeah, many years ago I wrote that tune.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that was really cool. That's very catchy. Which is great too, you're right? Nice to have a catchy song.
And I think we'll be able to actually do the whole thing, but hopefully soon. You know, so we have the studio, so we could probably figure it out with some social distancing.
We have a gig coming up August 22nd, an outdoor
Oh,
event
yeah.
up near Woodstock. So we're planning on possibly recording a day or two around that time if we all feel comfortable doing that. So
That's at a place called Lydia's Cafe in Stonebridge, and it's outdoors.
Oh,
So,
if the weather cooperates, then we'll be able to, play for an audience. Wow.
have you tried singing with the mask on yet?
singing with what out
A
in,
mask on, a mask.
oh no, I haven't done that. I had a few singing moments. Let's see. At my house, I had a great sax player who I have a group with, one of my groups, Chuck Manning, and my one of my sisters in singing in my improv vocal group, Fish to Birds, Ashley Marr. So Ashley and Chuck came over and we sang in the back and we played in the backyard. We just improvised. We had a great time. And then I went over to my friend Nori Tani's house in Venice. He's a Japanese flute player, great flute player. And he had a small band there and like a distanced audience, in the yard. And but I didn't sing with a mask. I had my own mic and I sang without a mask. Um, and yeah, I could create some live gigs. I don't know why I'm not super drawn to it. And it's an interesting feeling. It's like, hmm. I guess because it's not, you maybe I'd be more drawn to it if I knew that there was an audience that was going to come and be part of it. Um,
It's hard right now to put
yeah.
pressure on people to come out, I think.
Yeah.
I'm also not that drawn because I don't play well. I play piano, but not well. And I'm not, I don't love singing to tracks and performing like, ta-da, here I am. And there's a track behind me. So I haven't done much of that, but I would like to move into, and I have the equipment, but I'd like to move into kind of building something with somebody, and that's the next level of knowledge. I got a mic. See, I got a mic. So
Yeah, what is that?
this is a Blue Yeti, not the small one, the larger one, and yeah, it's nice. The sound is definitely different,
Are you
and
using that now?
I'm using it right now. Like if I took it out, here's the sound with my.
Wow.
It's different, very different.
So that's a beautiful sound. Like we're just using our computer right now.
Well, you sound fine to me, but I have heard this on a Zoom. My girlfriend was using one, and I was like, "Wow, what are you using?" And she was also using a USB mic. This is not a very expensive mic, but it has a few bells and whistles, and it's quite nice. But I have an audio like a what do you call it? The middle thing that I have to say what?
Interface.
Interface.
The interface. So I want to take that out. I want to plug into the interface, and then I want to open GarageBand for the first time in 20 years or something, and just kind of go, oh yeah, what happens again? I I have I have been doing iMovies, and I've been really enjoying that. I like that process.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, to create movies.
Yeah, well, I put out a single because I felt like, yeah, let me try putting out a single for Make Me Wanna Holler. And I created a movie and I like that process. It feels good to, find the material, the visual material, and then put it in the right spot and time it so that it's growing and then going away. And
It's,
um,
it's fun. Yeah.
yeah. I also did one for a dear friend of the community, a guitar player named Barry Zweig, who passed away right before COVID, like kind of really took off. And so I had written a song for him a few weeks after he died, and John Leftwich, bass player, and Pat Kelly, guitar player. We recorded it, and then I made an iMovie, and that was really nice too. And I'm thinking of doing that again with a song that I recorded on my last record. You must know Sermonette.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I thought that would be a good song too for right now, you know.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start working on that one.
That's cool.
Very good.
Yeah. It
And
is
we
nice to get into, you know, new things, right? Or new and old things. Like you guys, I'm never going to catch up to you, but here, this is my old thing that I've taken out. Because I went to Berkeley for flute and arranging and comp.
Okay.
So I
Right,
also,
is it an alto flute?
no, it's just, you know what? This is my original student Gemeinhardt.
That's so big.
No, I would like an alto flute actually. I might even look for one because I think that I would, you know, maybe this is the time to get into an alto flute. But anyway, it's fun. I've been practicing Louisa, you know, the Jobim song, which is
Oh, nice.
really nice on the flute. So just, you know, to get everything working, it's nice.
Awesome. That's great.
Oh, Judy, if you make a movie or video, do you have to pay licensing fees on the cover song? Yes, you do. If you release it on a public platform, which I have.
Does length matter though? I mean, if you just release part of the song, I mean, I don't, you know.
Well, I think if you like I think if you're recording and releasing a song and it's a cover song, you need a license.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
About $100 somewhere, I think, publishing rights.
yeah. 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 Um, so let's see, what else can we talk about? Ooh. Um, so so right now you guys are, it sounds like you're kind of waiting to see what's happening and you're kind of looking towards recording. Obviously you're moving, that takes some time.
Yeah, we're working on a duo recording because we haven't, although we've recorded some duo pieces on other recordings, we've done 4 recordings together, but we actually haven't done just a duo recording. So we're working on that, where we'll do some bass and voice, and I'll play some piano. John will do some singing. He'll play some guitar. You know, we'll mix it up.
Our first recording back in '98, we do a lot of bass and voice on that recording, but then we also add Kenny Burrell and Jack DeJohnette to several tunes.
Yeah, we did Goodbye Pork Pie Hat as a
Yeah.
duo, and an original tune we collaborated on called Monk's Point.
Yeah.
And I remember we were going to do Sting's Fragile, bass, voice, and drums. And then Kenny Burrell was like, well, can't I play on it? And we're like,
Sure, come on,
yeah,
Kenny.
Okay.
we didn't overuse him, you know, we were just like so grateful that he was playing. And once he was in the studio, he just wanted to play.
We wanted to play a couple of tunes,
incredible.
which was great. Yeah, so looking forward to, you know, we're working on putting, you know, this duo recording out. And we're working every other day. We're experimenting with different ideas. We're videotaping ourselves. You know, it's a process. I mean, we've been playing together for so long. And there are some ideas that we have that just happen so naturally, you know. One of the things that I find, especially with just bass and voice, is that there's this, you know, there's only two things going on in terms of melody or contrapuntal things, and it's very intimate. I love the space that we can create. Just the sonority between her voice and my bass it's really easy to just kind of get lost in that delicate balance that we both kind of recognize as we perform. I really feel that it's very intimate, and that's what we're trying to capture whenever we play just with the bass and the voice. It's it's something that we'll be continuing to do for as long as we can, but I find it really special. When I was first coming up in Montreal, there is a great bass player and a singer who were doing bass and voice, a singer by the name of Karen Young, who's still on the scene, and Michelle Donato, who was my bass teacher. This is going back 40 years, more than 45 years. So, and then I remember in the Montreal Jazz Festival, Sheila Jordan came to town with Harvey. S-No-E-Y. And they came and did a performance together, and Karen and Michelle did something together with them. They were breaking all kinds of new ground, bass and voice when it came to that. So I was exposed fairly young, to that kind of relationship between the voice and the bass. Michelle being my teacher, Karen was a good friend and a very successful singer in Montreal. And it just so happened, many, many years later when I met Terri, that was a goal of ours, was, hey, let's just, keep experimenting, keep playing with this idea. And of course, Sheila has been such a mentor and someone we've, grown to love and appreciate. And just as a side note, my father, who turned 90 just last year, has had kind of a, just a friendly relationship with Sheila over the years. He goes to see her. He lives in Toronto, Canada, and he goes to see her every time possible. And she was playing at Top of the Senator last year, the year before, maybe a couple of times. And he went and he sat up front with my brother who brought him there. And she sang to him the whole evening. And they just had this incredible rapport. And afterwards, when the show was over, people were coming up to him and asking him, who are you? Like, are you some kind of celebrity or something? So when he turned 90, we had all my family up in Toronto and across Canada. Even my older son from Melbourne, Australia came over.
Oh, wow.
And surprised him. And we surprised my father with Sheila. Singing. We rented out a club. My brother, Michael, who's a percussionist and singer-songwriter in Toronto, played with us. Terri played piano and sang. I played bass. Sheila and Jane Burnett on flute, soprano. And he was there, and he had this grin on his face. For days, he couldn't get it off his face. It was amazing.
Oh,
that was really, really special. And one of the highlights for us, of course, besides all that, was we drove Sheila from New York to Toronto in our car.
Oh, wow.
And that was 8 hours of just stories. Oh my God, they're just incredible. So
oh my God.
I'm very fortunate to know her and perform with her, and we just love her to death.
Oh man, that is such a great story. That's going to stay with me too. Oh God.
We have an amazing photo of the two of them. I'll post it on Facebook. It's just.
Oh, that's cool. Oh man, that's great. I love that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just so easy to make beautiful things happen for each other. It's it's
Yeah.
it's something that we need to concentrate on more as human beings, you know. It's just so it's too easy to do that, you know, and it lasts for so long and causes such great ripples, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find people who love this music and other musicians, it's like we're a big family, really, and a small
Absolutely.
family when you look at the whole world. But it's a beautiful family to be part of, for sure. You know, people are
Definitely is.
so hip and just you have like-minded people and people who love to create and have open minds.
Yeah.
And it's so great to communicate with people like that.
Yeah. Who are your who were some real mentors for you? I mean, obviously people you've talked about. Any other like people who were very solidly your mentor?
Well, for me, moving to New York, getting to know Jay Clayton, uh, did a lot of workshops with her, and I just loved her approach to composing and singing and also teaching. She's had a pretty big effect on me, very positive. And also Sheila, Sheila's been an amazing mentor. And when I think about piano players who sing, or singers who play piano, Shirley Horn, of course, is somebody that I've just always loved so much. And now I'm playing with her drummer, Steve Williams. I work with him. We work with him a lot.
And
Yeah.
record.
He's on our last two CDs.
Uh-huh.
And we have some stuff coming up with him. And so like playing with him is just, it's amazing that whole sound that he creates, that whole sound palette. And then seeing people like Dina DeRose going out and playing and singing and sounding just great. I remember when I was like in my 20s and first got into this music, there was this one guy who was playing piano for me on this gig. I won't mention any names, but I was saying to him, I really want to play piano. And he's like, okay, I'm taking you out tonight. And he took me to this piano bar where this woman was playing and singing all by herself. He goes, do you really want to be sitting there all by yourself like that, playing and singing? It was discouraging me. And then I remember one time I sat down at this club before the gig and I played this, you know, version of Giant Steps that I had gotten these voicings from Bobby Peterson. I just worked on it and it was good, And this bass player came up to me and goes, you can't do that. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Oh, okay. you know, and then seeing people, hearing people, getting to know women who were doing this has been a real inspiration to me and something that I just want to do it. I mean, I've done a lot of solo piano and duo with John, but I haven't really done it that much in New York, but I definitely want to pursue that now. Like I want to do that. So there, I said it.
It's her time.
Yeah, we got time now.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, people like that. And then meeting somebody like, Jack DeJohnette and Kenny Burrell and having them take an interest in me, that was big.
Yeah, yeah. And John, what about you?
Well, I must say that, I mean, there's a lot of musicians that I aspired to, but there was a time, again, in my late 20s where I was very attracted to the piano. And there were several years where I was living on my own and I had a piano. And I was very drawn to Keith Jarrett in his solo piano recordings. I saw him several times in performance as a soloist. His approach to spontaneity, just walking onto the stage and being able to perform the way he did, obviously he was a virtuoso at a very young age, but I was very drawn to that concept. And I would say, enough to the point where I was performing piano at the same time as I was a bassist in Montreal. I was doing cocktail hour gigs, learning tunes, playing them. And I was also working in the dance field as an accompanist for dancers who were teaching the Martha Graham technique.
Wow.
A lot of odd meters. And so that was kind of my step into playing piano, as well as really loving Keith Jarrett's approach. And I did work with a very well-known Canadian dancer, Margie Gillis, who's world-renowned, a very inventive and an amazing solo dancer. And I did several concerts with her where I composed or actually improvised a piece that we worked on together. It was about 16 minutes long. And for me at that time, I was, walking onto a stage, playing this amazing piano in front of, thousands of people and having her dance to my music. So that was kind of my step into that world. So I would say as a young artist coming up, Keith Jarrett had a lot of influence on me. And then, of course, Gary Peacock, his bassist, also had a huge influence on me, as well as another great pianist, actually from Montreal, Paul Blais. And I interacted with Paul several times. I got to play with him. And he was originally, not living in Montreal at the time, but there were times when he would be passing through and he would come and see us play in different ensembles. His whole approach to playing was incredible to me as well. Great innovative musician. And I guess Paul, yeah, just that trio with Duchenet,
Yeah.
Gary Peacock.
Yeah.
Gary had a real profound effect on me. And I got to know him very well and got to hear him so many times. Then from there, the list just keeps growing and growing.
Right.
Another person I just really need to mention,
Yes.
huge influence on me is Abby Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I did an album of music called Dear Abby, because I thought that she solved a lot of life's problems through her music. And I just think her music is so incredibly special. And to me, she's kind of a storyteller, like an extension of Billie Holiday. Because a lot of people don't know about Billie Holiday. Well, a lot of people do know that she had many sides to her. She was very joyful in a lot of her music. Her music was ahead of its time. She sang, I think, the first civil rights song, Strange Fruit. She was able to express every emotion, really, and through music. And is a great storyteller. And I think that Abby Lincoln was the same. And it's good. I mean, when she did that civil rights music with Max Roach, that was so powerful. But then when she started writing her own music, each tune told a story.
Yeah.
And her songs are just, I love singing her music so much. And actually, we were going to do her music August 6th, this Thursday. And
Oh, yeah.
Hayden as well, because it's their birthdays fall on the same day.
That's another great one.
Yeah. And they wrote, he wrote first song and sent it to her, and she put lyrics to it. And it's just a beautiful song. So, she has.
Isn't Abby's kind of like the vocal monk, right? Her writing. And
She actually wrote a tune for a month. I have to, I'm actually transcribing it because it's not written out anywhere. But, can't remember the name of it now. Yeah, she loved his. That's a.
Do you know, I don't know. I've always saved this one article that I found. I don't even know when I found it, maybe 20 years ago. And it's up on my bulletin board near my piano. But it it's written by a person who was in the audience uh, at Billy's first performance of Strange Fruit.
Oh, you're kidding.
And there was 200 or 300 people in the audience. And after the song finished, he said there was this strange sound. And he realized after a moment that it was the sound of 300 people sighing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I heard the pin drop after that performance.
Yeah.
I think that was with Mal Waldron on piano, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
At,
Yeah.
Cathy
Whew.
Segal-Garcia.
Imagine that. What kind of a history is that? Ooh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Yeah, to write something so effective.
Definitely one of my main influences, for sure. And as far as like composing too, I've written a few songs that I will be doing more of. You know. She's been a huge influence. I love her. Loved her. I wish I would have met her. Like, if anybody's listening out there, and you have a chance to meet somebody who's had such a profound influence on you, please do it. I mean, I remember when Carmen McRae passed away. I actually did meet her once in Minneapolis at this private club called Diamond Gyms, which I snuck into with a friend of mine. And, but Abby, you know, some people who knew her well, who hear me sing her music, tell me she would have loved to have met you. And I'm just like, what an idiot. You know, I should have made a point of meeting her. I actually did, but it was only at nightclubs to say hello.
Yeah.
And like, well, she doesn't want to be bothered with me. You know, no, that's not right. I think you should try and meet somebody who has such a big influence on you.
I agree. You know, when I was 21, I had just moved here to LA and I had a job as a waitress for a year and a half at Dante's. So there, I really met a lot of people. You know, I really got introduced into the community, and you know, a lot of the greats performed there during that time. And one night, Jack Lemmon was there with his wife and two other women, and he looked like he really wanted to be home, you know. And I thought, oh my God, Jack Lemmon, you know, who, you know, had just made an incredible effect on me, right? And I went up to him and I said something, you know, like, I love you and thank you for, you know, thank you for what you've put out. And he looked at me totally, you know, totally looked at me and acknowledged me. And you know, 45 years later, I still get kind of about that moment. It really does make a difference for you.
It does. I mean, I remember every time I met Abby, but the thing I didn't do is I didn't go hang with her, which I didn't realize singers were doing that.
Yeah.
That, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important, I think.
Yeah, definitely the hang, man. That is really what's important.
Nice thing. I like this guy.
Yeah. Hey, should we I'd kind of like to hear your duo stuff. I mean, would you suggest what you said, Goodbye Pork Pie, or something live?
We have Monk's Point. Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Monk's. Do you see Monk's Point down there?
Is this on Mysterioso or somewhere else?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
It's called Monk's Point.
And is it on Mysterioso?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go.
I haven't listened to this in a while.
You haven't?
How you doing?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
Get back.
Interference.
I know, man.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Okay, here we go. This is Monk's Point and written by Terri and John.
It's when you don't even have a key to your own heart. Misunderstanding, love, never lasting, bittersweet romance. Constant craving, misbehaving, looking to find love. Everlasting imagination will lead you to a new way to live life. Mysteriously, deliriously, you come unfolded. Every season has a reason. Let the sun shine in. Don't be dreary, find a quiet place where you can put on a new face. Some cheerful day you'll discover all your treasures and pleasures. See where they take you, don't hesitate to follow your longings. Be insightful, so delightful, miracles live on out on Monk's Point. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. 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 Ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-beep-ba. Ba-da-da-da. Ba-ba-da-da-da. Employ your greatest joy and take a journey to Monk's Point. Some cheerful day you discover all your treasures and pleasures. See where they take you, don't hesitate to follow your longings. Be insightful, so delightful, miracles live on out on Monk's Point.
Wow, that was cool. That really was Monk-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great song.
I'll
Hey, by
just
the
tell
way,
you. Go ahead.
let me just take a quick detour. Who took this picture? It's so beautiful, the cover.
That is a good friend of mine, Roy Gumpel, and that is out by the Ashokan Reservoir, about a mile from our house, upstate. Those are the Catskill Mountains, and that is a lake or a reservoir and partly covered in snow.
What a beautiful cover this is.
Yeah, he's a great photographer.
That is just so, that's just beautiful. That's a great cover. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so what were you going to say, John?
I was just going to say that I wrote that tune, Monk's Point, not knowing that Monk actually had a piece called Monk's Point.
Oh,
And I wrote it, my God, a long time ago. Before we met.
I just the lyrics.
Yeah,
later.
Terri added the lyrics. But Monk's Point was an actual place in a small island off the island of Montreal in the West Island, on an island called Ile Bizarre, en français, Ile Bizarre. And this area called Monk's Point was a place that was named because of a French captain whose ship moored on the sand dunes on this island and was stuck there. And he ended up staying there and building this incredible, I guess you would call it a villa in the French style. Wow. He built a big dance hall on his property. And I had a friend who lived right on the entranceway into this incredible place called Monk's Point. So that was what inspired me to write the tune. not knowing that Monk, you know, Thelonious Monk had written a piece already called Monk's Point, and that Monk, Thelonious Monk, and Monk, the French sailor, were not at all related. So that's how that came to be. And then Terry, many, many years later, wrote the lyrics to it. And
I remember you took me there once.
I did take her there once when we were back up in Canada visiting. Showed her the spot. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
I also wrote some lyrics to some Monk tunes.
Oh, which one?
Let's see. Baya.
Oh, yeah.
I did too. What are yours?
Oh, cool.
What are
What are my lyrics? I'd have to go look because it's been a while. I performed it. My friend John Leftwich wrote us some. We collaborated on this small chamber orchestra gig for a really nice series called Just Jazz out here. And let me see if I can quickly find find them.
Sing a little bit of while you're looking. So, my baby, he left me. He went for a long walk. He wandered off too far. Now he's gone and there's no more talk. Something like that.
That's cool. I was like, I'm gonna be leaving the life that I'm leading. It's not really giving to what I could become. We should share our lyrics.
Yeah, we definitely should, you know. Have you recorded that?
Yeah, not recorded. I've only, we took a recording of the gig, and actually we were thinking of recording that whole project because it's pretty cool. I'm a big John Scofield fan, and so I also took some John Scofield tunes, wrote lyrics to those, and then a few originals of mine, and it was a really it was a great project. We had piano. One of my favorite pianists out here is Gary Fukushima, and we had him and Brad Dutz on percussion, and we had guitar. We had let's see, we had violin, cello, and two horn players, and bass. And it was really fun. I had a great time, and it was very. The arrangements were challenging, and I did pretty good at learning them and getting comfortable. Also, during that period of time, I was going through kind of a point of view that included this kind of sounds like a duh moment, duh. But I had been going through a viewpoint for several years in my singing that I have this chronic cough that I've had for 20 years, and a few years ago it was really just getting to me, my singing, and I found a teacher at that time, and who's just one of your, when you find a teacher, it's your teacher, right? That kind of guy. And during that period, I asked Larry Coons, great guitar player, what he was studying. I just, because I like to ask musicians what they're doing,
Yeah.
And he said, Kath, he said, I'm doing what I need to do, but I'm doing it with joy. That was how he was practicing. And that really struck a bell with me. So in that period that I performed all this music, I was in that state of mind. It was like I kept bringing joy up. So I didn't find myself analyzing myself, no matter how subtly, and I was just, every time I would feel something like, coming in, I would just focus on the joy. And it was a really fun concert for me for that reason, and the music, it was great writing, and yeah, really fun.
It's important to always remember that. I remember Jack DeJohnette said something like that to me once too. He said, don't think of it as practicing, just have fun.
Yeah.
Music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves, that and take away. So it's important to keep that in mind, that this is fun, right?
Yeah, no matter what you're working on, even if it's like some kind of hard passage, it's fun. It's
Yeah,
actually,
Yeah.
you know,
all fun.
and that idea that curiosity is creativity, right? So if you make yourself curious about it, it's like you're being creative, which is really a wonderful thing to remember.
I've been working on and off for several years with Joe Lovano and his wife Judy Lovano, and I remember Joe once telling me, well, practicing instead of practicing scales and doing all that, which is kind of a necessity, but you should practice playing. In fact, you should play when you're on your instrument, and I just like, well, that's a great, anecdote. Yeah, I'm just gonna play, because that's what it's all about. So it's like you say, you never stop learning. People
Yeah.
say certain things, and it just sparks a little bit of something in you, and you go, yeah, this is a way to approach it.
Yeah.
I heard something Wayne Shorter said on a live Zoom thing a couple weeks ago. He said, play like you want the world to be. Play what you want the world to be like, you know?
Oh,
Uh,
that's really interesting. Yeah. As a matter of fact, this morning I had a state of mind occur. Um, I like to read books that have spiritual happiness and excitement and curiosity. Deepak Chopra is one of my favorite. And I read something, I guess, this morning, and he was talking about the soul approaching God. And at this point, the soul, this is the lower level of the soul. It's kind of unaware of what's going on. But then as you start moving towards the God essence, then you start being aware, right? And as it gets closer, you're more aware. And then when you're here, you're merging. And so it's a different kind of awareness. But anyway, that made me, I don't know, something happened this morning, and I was just kind of in my kitchen, and all of a sudden I got that state of mind that we get when we play, and and I noticed it, and I was there, and I was in it, and I was marveling at it. It was like, oh, wow, I'm
That's
just going to
beautiful.
stay here for a while.
That's great. Do you ever read Eckhart Tolle?
Oh yeah,
I love
me
his work.
too. He's another one, and he's great to listen to speak as well.
And Pima Chodron, I'm sure.
Yes,
No,
yeah.
it's really good for right now, especially.
Oh my God, it so is because, I don't know about you guys, and I'm sure it is with you guys too, because we're all humans, right? But I'm a very glass half full type of person, and I'm very much, for years I've been really into a spiritual way of thinking, that this stuff is not so real, right? And but nowadays it's really easy to let the other part of me get a little hysterical. It's like I can feel the hystericalness coming, hysteria. It's like I don't know what's happening, and this, I won't go into it, but this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening. At least those three things that really worry me. They concern me, and then I have to move over to the other side, because I do know, after many years of thinking about all this stuff, that truth feels good. I know that for a fact. I have seen that over and over again in my life and experienced it. Even if it's a bad thing, when you see the truth of it, it dissolves. The bad thing dissolves. So all these weird hysteria things, they don't feel good, and they don't dissolve. And that's how I know that they're actually not the truth. Now, this is my own little thing, but it helps me through, and listening to music, talking to people, and reading these books, and thinking about this, eh, what I call the aesthetic universe too, right? Which is what I was just describing where I was this morning. And what we're creating right now, we're in a shared universe that is filled with creativity, and um, I mean, to me, that's what I want to. That's what I want to do. You know.
I love that philosophy.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
accepting what's going on and not trying to change it because you can't change it.
Right.
But once you kind of give in to what it is and get one with it, even though it might not be, you know, it's reality either way. You know, if you try to bat up against reality, you're just creating these situations that are stressful, and so you have to kind of just go, oh yeah, this
Yeah, you move with it.
is.
My time is usually morning when I wake up. I'm like, oh my God, you know. And then I just like, I go to the mirror and I just look at myself long and hard and just, you know, I just like psych myself up. Like everything is fine, you know. It's like kind of like a meditation almost, but it kind of works. But I have to be looking in a mirror
Uh,
to just convince myself. So,
Looking inward.
yeah, yeah, works for me. I'm happy to see that I'm still here, I guess.
what did you say? I'm
I'm
sorry.
happy to see that I'm still here.
Oh. Yeah, well, a lot of people say that, especially like I was just listening to, I just discovered Alan Alda had a podcast on for the last 2 years or something. Wow. Talk about great, great points of view and stuff. Really great. Kind of like Jack Lemmon to me, Alan Alda. And he was saying, the old, mostly older people say this, like every day that I wake up and I'm here is a good day. Well, I'm still here. I'm still alive. So until I'm not, I'll report in. So, yeah, like a few more musical questions I have for you too. What do you, this is related, of course. What do you guys look for in music? What, like when you're creating music, and you already know your favorite players, to play with, but what turns you on for the people that you're making music with?
For me, one thing that comes to mind is the unexpected. Um, you know, just something that happens.
That's great.
Just yeah, just being in that groove together, you know, feeling like you're really part of something much bigger and happy that it's all working out. You know.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's about trust, um, and this has happened throughout my career where there are certain people that you just feel so comfortable with, and you trust each other's emotional output, and you end up kind of, I guess, in a strange way, telepathically connecting. You have this, language that you're just, you know, I mean, I'm sure it's happened to you, maybe it hasn't, but, for myself, sometimes you're playing in a situation with other people and things happen so spontaneously. There's no explanation for it, and you just look at each other and you laugh because like it's connection, and there's no words, there's no script. It's all about trust, and you stumble onto these paths of communication that elevate. There are times when I've played with certain people when the feeling is it's almost like you're floating. One of the things I learned early on when I worked with Dewey Redman um, was that he was almost like a musical shaman to me.
Like a musical
Shaman,
shaman. Yeah.
shaman, where on stage he would create this sense of trust and musicality that just opened up ideas from the universe. You know, it's like I've never. There are a few people that I have experienced that with. But with one of the special things about Dewey was that he had that ability, and it was when it first started happening. I was like, my God, this is so empowering and so unique. So that was, you know, just something that happened because of the person that I played with, who was, you know, I thought was on a different plane musically. And once you experience it, you know, you're always looking for the next time that it might happen. And it does happen from time to time. It's just unexplainable.
The communication
Yeah.
is just like nothing else, that type of communication.
That's a bit spiritual. Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
also love connecting with an audience. I mean, I remember this when I was taking French in college. We had to write an essay in French, and I wrote about how I just wanted to make people happy, and I wanted to be a therapist, you know. And then I eventually realized that I wanted to try and do that through music. You know, I love having an audience feel good, you know, communicating with them in a very different way. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah. Um, I hadn't thought of that until I asked you it. Let's see. Well, I mean, you know, there's little things compared to what you guys said, which is kind of a broad, beautiful, expansive kind of a thing. You know, I mean, I definitely want to feel like I'm in the same universe with the musicians, and we're all creating, we're co-creating together, and there's no such thing as a mistake because it's just a development of what's happening. So I do want to feel that. And then there's smaller pieces to it, you know, like a piano player who will let me sing a tension note and not correct their chord, you know, stuff, things like that. You know, I'm like, what are you doing? Don't do that. I wanted to do that, you know. And you know, drummers who, you know, leave space. Mark Ferber was always one of my favorite drummers, you know.
Oh,
Mark Ferber,
Yeah.
okay.
you know.
I worked with Steve Williams for the first time. He was at the Gitano, and I look back at him and go, you want a solo? I just want to, like, wow, that's really different.
Yeah, well, space to me is really important. And also for drummers, I really enjoy drummers who don't, you know, who are free enough to create every moment, you know, instead of, you know, setting up a groove like forever or that kind of thing. But time, of course, is, I know both of you obviously, time is important from a drummer, but I remember several drummers. There's a kind of a well-known drummer in New Orleans named Johnny Vodakovich. And I did a gig with him on a riverboat. And so when I got up there to sing, and the leader was a guy named Al Boletto, who was kind of a well-known horn player. And I started singing, and the moment I started singing, I got hit with Johnny Vodakovich's time or feel or something. And I was so struck that I turned and I looked at Al and he said, I know. I didn't even say anything. It was just in that moment. Then he said, I know. It was like, wow, that was pretty deep, you know.
I remember seeing him once. He was in Woodstock, and he sang Old Folks.
Oh,
Sang Old Folks.
Yeah, great.
I think he worked with Schofield from time to time.
he did. He recorded a little bit with Sco. He's kind of a quirky. He's very quirky and, you know, yeah, I think he could have been you know, maybe more out in the limelight, but he's a little quirky as a person, you know, and
Humorous and quirky, they kind of go together. No, more of a joke about them.
Schofield is one of my favorites. I'm a big guitar fan. I love singing with guitar, and I've sung with a bunch of great guitar players. And but Schofield was a musician who I could always go and not be bored in the audience at all. I was never bored with his playing, and his compositions are so interesting. They're remind me a little bit of Benny Maupin, like very strong head. Well, Schofield is like the A section, right? It's very strong melody, and then the B section's kind of woo, you know. And then he comes back to the strong head, you know, and the groove, the melody, and just how he plays. One time I saw him in performance with what's his name? The Irish tenor player.
Irish tenor player.
Irish tenor player. You don't mean
And
John
Johnson-
Simon?
No,
No, he's not
He's
Irish.
English. He's English.
Sean, is his name Sean or oh, I can't remember. He played with him for a while. I'm sure he lived in New York. But anyway, I saw them play. And check this out. This was so unusual. So it was a relatively small club. They were small group. It was, you know, quintet, I guess. And so John and the horn player were standing facing front, and they both started soloing together. And they literally, physically started from facing forward. They started slowly moving out like this. And my head kind of blew up. It was really interesting. I'd never seen any jazz group do something like that, you know, and it just, I don't know who thought of doing that, but that was the coolest thing.
We were at the Panama Jazz Festival one year, and he was there, and we heard his performance, and he played this killing version of the Tennessee Waltz.
Like you've never heard.
I
Oh my
mean,
God, it's
I'll
so
never forget it. It was so beautiful.
good.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he is really too cool. Yeah. In that show that I told you about, I wrote a few lyrics to some of his stuff too, because I would like to do sometime a recording of his music, because I really like a lot of his songs, you know.
Have you sent your lyrics to him?
I don't know. I mean, I can't remember because
That might be,
sorry.
that might be a good place to start.
Yeah. I did send my Abercrombie lyrics to John, except it was after he had passed, and his wife, she said, you know, I mean, I recorded them. It's to Hippolytville. I don't know if you know Hippolytville. It's a really cool tune. I wrote lyrics to it while I was in college, and I recorded it several times. My last record, I recorded it with Norma Winstone. It was really fun, and but she didn't want to give me publishing, because she just said John hadn't really been into that kind of thing, so she just continued on. But that's okay, you know, no problem.
That's the thing about writing lyrics to other people's compositions. They, you know, like Monk compositions. It's like, wow, to record them, it's a lot of doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And then there are people like who have written for Jobim stuff and been taken down. It's like, you know, so you record a song on your record, and then your whole record is kind of shot because that one song hasn't gotten permission, you know. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, guys, it's actually been 2 hours.
Wow,
Awesome.
It's amazing, huh? I mean,
sure is.
just a cool hang. Andrea and Phil and Ken and I actually hung out again after
was gonna say we should do this sometime just for fun.
Wouldn't it be nice? It's great, you know?
We have a couple of minutes left.
Sure.
Do you want, Terry, do you want to sing a tune? I'll play the bass.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know, I have an incoming call. Yeah, we can do that. What would you like to do?
Cool. Thank you for suggesting it.
Once you said you loved me, place no one above me. Pray for me to make that vow. What dumb thing did I say? So busy being glad I say, how I wish you asked me now. I was vain and blind then, prone to be unkind then. Wish they turned back time somehow. Then I was anxious. I ignored what was precious. How I wish you'd ask me now. I thought then I'd always be so footloose and fancy free. How could I have been so blind? What I once made light of turned out to be true love. Once my ego moved me, flattered me and fooled me more times than the law allowed. You asked me to care, my attention was elsewhere. How I wish you would ask me now. You asked me to care, my attention was elsewhere. How I wish you asked me now. Thelonious Monk, John Hendricks.
Yay. That was a perfect way to end. Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Cathy. This has been great.
Thank you so much. And did you say you had gigs coming that we should be aware of?
Yes, there's something August 16th, Soapbox Gallery.
I'm going to write that down. August
Um,
16th at Soapbox Factory. That's a live gig?
It's in Brooklyn. It's live stream.
Okay.
We'll be doing a duo.
Okay.
And
What time is that?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Eastern time, right?
Eastern time. And we'll be doing also a gig in Stone Ridge, New York, August 22nd with Pete Levin and Nani Assis. That's at Lydia's Cafe.
Okay.
And then we'll be rescheduling our gig at Shapeshifter Lab in Brooklyn, honoring Abby Lincoln and Charlie Hayden later, maybe at the month or something, but it's all on our website.
Okay. And I've listed your websites.
Yeah.
You guys are so great. It's so nice. Terri, you are just about the sweetest pea in the world, man. You just ooze sweetness. She really is beautiful. And John, you are very kind and beautiful too. It's really a joy to talk to you guys.
You too, Cathy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll do more. You know?
Okay. Yeah, thanks for bringing some really rich connection. I really feel like this was a beautiful, beautiful hang. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Good luck with the move.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have fun.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. And everyone, tomorrow, I had a little bit of a snafu. Clayton Cameron's going to be on Friday instead. So tomorrow, I'm going to be on, and I'm going to be playing different music. I'd love to hear from you and to share different musics that like introduce things to each other. It would be great. We'll have some discussions, and yeah. So come on tomorrow and hang with me. Okay. All right.